Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to, I think it's going to be the third video of today. This one's going to go over the synergies for Mr. Negative. In particular, there's going to be two synergies that I'm interested in playing about with, hence the title. It's going to be the regeneration synergy, that's Venom, and as well the Fury buff version of it, which is for Dormammu. Now you kind of think there will be like a huge significance to these synergies, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to test these out to see if they're doing anything different. So the first one is this a being then I, which is for Dormammu, is gaining dark energy has a 10% chance to trigger a fury buff, granting 20% attack power for 9 seconds. And then we've also got healing touch, which is a secondary synergy, which is whenever a genetic memory buff is gained, Venom has a 20% chance to trigger a regeneration buff, healing 10% of missing health over 9 seconds. And those are two synergies we're going to try out. I kind of would have wanted to do these videos that would be extensively long to try every single champion out, but I just kind of feel like they're two champions. One that I've used a lot and actually enjoy, which is Venom, and Dormammu, which is a champion. If any OGs know, it was a very kind of go-to champion that I loved in my roster, but unfortunately doesn't match up with the current meta, and it's definitely a champion that Kabam should look into in the future. But let's roll some footage. Let's begin with Venom. So kicking things off and just into the start of the fight, we have got Venom in action. Great champion for building those lovely buffs and smacking through great amount of damage whenever possible. The thing is with this regeneration synergy, as well as a lot of synergies to bolster some older champions, is they're good to a degree, but they're not perfect, and they do lack a little bit of potency, which you can see on screen. It's great that we've got the regeneration buff and the missing health, which, you know, is great for anybody that has suicide masteries and using Venom, but it's not a huge amount of return. Yes, suicide masteries recoiling damage may be the result of you actually gaining yourself back the damage that you've lost, especially with it being whatever missing health it is. But if you're looking for something that's going to be a bit punchy, I mean, that was only 7 ticks of health a time. It's not exactly the most stonking. So in this fight, you're going to see me take some damage, which is good, because the same thing with that, 14 per tick, and again for 9 seconds is pretty good. If you get those buffs lasting a little bit longer than 9 seconds, then I'm sure you're going to see something of greater damage. So that's really the thing with this. It's good to see. It's nice to have it in rotation, and it's great because it's an extra buff. It's not like it's just like a passive effect that you get as an extra. It is an additional buff on top of your other buffs. And I take a bit of damage there, which is good. As I said, it's just to kind of again identify where the ticks are. So if you're looking for an option that can gain another champion with having Mr. Negative on your team, you're gaining yourself with Venom. And look, it's 25 a tick. So it's actually pretty good, and it's kind of it's getting substantially better. But it's not like a stupid amount of damage that makes us all go, oh, if it's I think if it was 100 per tick, we'd all have a few questions about that. But still, it's good to see that there's some damage there, and there's some regeneration there. I think as well, as I said, this champion will be good for the likes of Buffed Up, and if you're looking for monthly options that are going to take you into certain content and require or if there's any kind of content that requires you to have a champion that regenerates in order to benefit from some kind of effect, say Kabam do it down the line, then maybe this could be an option. I think the biggest thing is the percentages, and that's going to be the key thing as well that I'm going to come back to with talking about these two synergies. Is that with the Venom one, it's only 20%. Now, in this particular footage, especially in the Winter Soldier interaction, it was popping off. We were seeing that the regeneration buff was coming up more regularly, especially with that low 20% chance. So it's nice to see it like a nice clean amount, but at the same time, we have to be real on this, and it's not super sustainable, or it's not super regular. To the frequency, sorry, I should get the more kind of a better way descriptive here. The frequency is not there if you wanted something that was kind of guaranteed. No, there is regeneration elements to Venom in some ways, but there's if we're talking about something of a regular, consistent thing, it is just not there for players. So I don't know if you would be overly kind of screaming to the moon and back, hey, I've got an option that can regen in some sort of way. It's just not there. Like, oh, it just popped up, and it's great because we've got like a load of Furies, and we popped up the SB2, and there's a great amount of bleed debuff damage, and we're like, oh, this is nice. But yeah, it's again just it's great, but at the same time, it's not regular unless you get lucky. And that's the difficult thing, is saying like, hey, I can get super lucky with picking myself up this regen for this synergy. So yeah, it just needs a little bit of an SP2 to finish off this fight. I think it'll be a miracle if I pick up myself anything like another regen buff in this time space, especially with the enemy champion ticking out from a bleed. Needs one good swipe of vengeance, as I'm trying to play this very carefully without being hit. So I knew that was going to happen. Boom. And the job is done. Now, we have got to move on to the other synergy. And the other synergy is kind of worse when it comes to the amount of percentage of actually triggering off. And this is the thing that I do think we need, is a buff to Dormammu. I love Soulbond Detonation. It's the normal way that I play this champion. And building something along the lines like Dark Energy and having it do something is kind of important. That's why this synergy interests me. But unfortunately, 10% is going to be seen that it's just going to absolutely frustrate me. So let's, without further ado, roll the footage. Now, I'm part way through the fight, as you can see, and I'm already kind of thinking to myself, like, am I interested in this particular thing at all? But I think it's good. I think it's good to kind of like expose the extent of how poor certain champions are, especially in situations like this is a rank 5 200 signature version, and that's the thing, like, this is definitely a candidate for Kabam to look into, especially this is Dormammu. This is meant to be so much of an OP character within Marvel, and it's just not that. Even there, like, that's something to point out. So the Fury buff has popped up because we built the Dark Energy, and then we went to the imbued state, or went into the green state. So we went from the purple to the green. And you'll see that I'm doing a parry heavy, which is putting a soul bond on the enemy as they throw special attacks, as I build up, and as I gain dark energy, top left hand corner. You can see this all marries together. Now, if I do the parry and heavy attack, I think it comes out of an 11k. So 11,000 direct damage goes out to the enemy, and that's good. But when we have the Fury buff up, you'll see the difference in it, and that is again the unfortunate thing. The extent of attack bonus that we get from this synergy is a very slim, well, what seems to be 20% attack rating is meant to be increased. Now, this is the big thing with this. It doesn't feel like it's that potent. That 20% just feels like absolute naffle. If you're not familiar with that, it's an expression in the UK which is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. And the rate in which this Fury buff is popping off, it is just not there. To a point where I'm literally at this point in, I think whilst recording, where I'm just thinking like, right, so the Fury buff's not doing anything. I've even set up the synergies with this champion to be like a little bit more stronger, and it's just not kind of reaching a point that I'm in any kind of state like happy with it. So that is really the big thing to say. The Dark Energy, building up things like the Fury buff, it's a slim chance for that to actually happen. Incredibly slim. And when it does, it is just not as potent as I think a lot of players would like, especially if you're a fan of Dormammu. And again, this is not with Suicide Masteries, but that's the problem as well. This champion is very much non-Suicide Masteries dependent, and it definitely shows. So that's really the thing to really kind of like take away from this particular video. And as well, this is like, yeah, there's two great synergies out there. Unfortunately, it's just one of these situations where they just don't kick off the extent of damage potential that we would like, especially from older champions being included in synergies for newer champions, and how it seems like that it's doing something, but in all actuality, it is not. So there we go. Here's a good example. Parry heavy, and there we go. It's just it's close to 13k, so that kind of sees it more of a 2,000 damage kind of extension. But we're up to 203 hits, and this fight can't really be ended anytime soon. So it just goes to show you that this champion is definitely needing a buff. Some of these newer synergies, which have potential to give something extra to the champion, just lack all that kind of like oomph that we'd like to see. And I decided that I've had enough and decided to end it right there. So yes, that has been the video. Thank you very much for watching. What are your thoughts on these particular synergies, and as well these champions, in particular Dormammu being buffed? Put it in the comment section down below. And hopefully by the time this video comes out, I should be doing a special live stream, which is going to be called a prepathon. So come on by to that, as I'll be kind of like grabbing some revives, some health potions from doing some older content, and as well I'll be doing some arena to grab some of those lovely units from the extensive and mind-numbing grind. Hopefully see you there. Bye bye.